Okay, hi guys. I hope I'm audible. Aditya, may I know your reason for happiness? Why you are sharing emojis and smileys in the chat box? Okay, yes. So, can I have a quick shout out that yes, I'm audible? Very few days left in hand. So, how you guys are preparing? क्या चल रहा है preparation strategy क्या है at this particular point of time where legal, I mean, I'm not referring to the other sections, I'm referring or talking from the legal perspective, what you are doing to improve your score in legal section. Or by now you must have realized that what has been, the important, or you can say the point of discussions. And also by now you guys must have realized the focus of CLAT, what type of questions they are asking, what type of passages they have been referring to. So I hope you guys are familiar with everything. If I ask, like, out of 32, which is generally the pattern, and until now they have been asking 32 questions from legal section, how much you guys are scoring in legal, and how much time you take to attempt legal section? Anyone? Revising regularly and keeping up with legal's current affairs with the Hindu. That's good, Mashika. Safi Numani, hi, good evening. Yeah, so I just want to know your score. Like, out of 32 questions, how much you guys? Okay, Safi is saying 24. And how many questions you attempt in legal section generally? 32 में 32, yeah, it's like 30 kind of. 20 minutes, okay, 20 minutes, 24 questions. Then how you divide your time across the mocks? What about others? Today, I just want to have a general conversation with you guys, because this is the time where we shall now, know our weak point, our strong areas. We shall be in a position to, understand that whatever we are following right now, whatever strategy we are taking into consideration, this is going to be our final take during the CLAT actual exam also. So, considering that by now, I hope you guys have understood, have realized, and also the way of attempting the mock. Meshika is saying 30 questions on average, getting 22 to 24, and spending 25 minutes on legal. Okay, that's not a bad, I mean, I'll say, but then this is not also very good. Ideally, legal is such where you can easily, get 25 plus for sure. Preetham is saying 30 minutes, 22 to 26 is okay. 26 to 28 is also a decent, very decent score, I can say. And it's not very difficult. Like, out of 32, maybe there are two questions which you may feel like बहुत confusing hai. Yeah, two questions you may feel like this is something which I'm not getting, or maybe I'm not understanding. For example, I hope all of you had written this All India mock, which was scheduled for this Sunday. So there was a question in this particular mock where the passage was focusing on ex parte order. And the question, I'll just give you an idea. The question was that this person who was served the summon, but he couldn't reach because there was a train got cancelled and he couldn't reach. So the idea was that whether the court where gave ex parte order, was it justified or not. But the very next line in the question was saying that the court automatically gave the order in the favor of plaintiff. So this specific line actually confused most of you, and you were like, "Ki automatically plaintiff ke favor mein chala gaya." That means it is not a valid ex parte order. But our focus was not that whether the order was given on merit, or whether the order was given in the favor of plaintiff, or whether it landed automatically. Our question was whether ample opportunity was given to the defendant or not. So yes, in this case, ample opportunity was given. He had received the summon also. The train got cancelled and he couldn't reach. And now when he cannot even take this defense before the court of law, because when you are taking such defense, it should be very much valid one, it should be justified one, and court if feels that your justification, your reasoning is very much reasonable, then only they'll take into consideration your plea. So in this particular case, let's say train got cancelled, there are other means of transportation also which can be which should be there. So considering that this wasn't a valid justification, but yes, if suppose there was a lockdown, complete lockdown, where the person entire movement was banned, so in that particular case this can fall within the category of justified reasoning that why he couldn't reach the court, and there if the court gave ex parte order, that could have been challenged, but in this case it could not have. Similarly, there was another question again which was asking about the ex parte summon wala thing only. So see, why I'm referring to this particular question is you need to understand that there can be one or two lines which is confusing, or which is somewhere giving us a different perspective, but that is the core, that we shall not get confused with something extra which has been added there. We have to stick to what the question is looking for, exactly what the last line of question says, and accordingly you have to answer that. Okay, Mishka is saying in that passage, I got confused on how to apply the principle in the question where the person refused to accept the summon letter because the postman was wearing a political shirt or something. So in this particular case, it has nothing to do with whatever the person is wearing. If the person is having some political affiliation, that is not a valid justification for refusing to accept the summon. So summon was properly served. You refused on a ground कि वो एक बंदा political party का t-shirt पहने हुए है, so I'm not very much I don't like that particular political party, so I'll not accept the summon. This cannot be a valid reasoning na. So there, if you have not accepted the summon, or you have not reached the court on time, or whatsoever is the reason, if court gives ex parte order, then again they are justified in doing so. Okay, Safi is saying legal को in depth में पढ़ना होगा क्या? In depth knowledge is not needed, but basic knowledge is very much needed. For example, if I take into consideration, like I keep talking with the students and all, so still I find that somewhere you guys are struggling with your static aspect. Somewhere you guys are not very much familiar with what static portion in your of a particular subject is saying. And when we take into consideration CLAT and the way they have been asking questions from certain subjects, for example contract, their focus has been on static aspect. Even if they are asking questions from torts, so torts, maybe they are asking those questions which is, even though if that particular topic is in news, they are going back and asking the static aspect. For example, I'll just take like last 5 years ka paper is only the important document for us to get an idea as to what type of questions are being asked. So if I take into consideration CLAT 2020 paper, so CLAT 2020 में दो incident थे which was related to law of tort. One was your act of God, which because of COVID, and the second one was Vizag gas leak. So the very first passage was asking questions on act of God because everybody was invoking it because of COVID, and the finance minister also had made a statement about act of God. So considering that the first passage was asking about act of God, but it was completely based on static, the basic concept of act of God. Similarly, when I look at the second passage which was focusing on Vizag incident, so in that Vizag incident also, their NGT initially had stated that this is the case of strict liability, and then the NGT was criticized for stating it to be a case of strict liability because gaseous substance was there. Vizag gas leak was there. As we all know, gas leak falls within the definition of absolute liability, hazardous activities, as we have seen the oleum gas leak case, which is Sriram Fertilizers, or you can also call it as MC Mehta, or you can say Bhopal gas tragedy or Union Carbide case. So वहां पे absolute liability का concept आया था. So NGT first, when they said that this is a case of strict liability, they were, basically questions were raised, and all Supreme Court also intervened in that particular matter. So the entire passage was focusing on what is strict liability, What is absolute liability? What is polluter pays principle? So polluter pays principle again is not a very extraordinary word, you can say. It is basically, if you have polluted something, you are supposed to pay for it. So basic concept is needed from static portion, and you are supposed to read the static aspect. Similarly, in CLAT 2021 paper, they had asked questions from communication to contract, postal rule wala communication, that how things works in case of postal rule. And the entire passage was talking about postal rule. Last ke do line mein they added the communication done through instant mode, for example telephonic communication, for example communication through email. So again a very static aspect. Similarly, in the same paper only, they asked one questions from the common intention and similar intention. Intention, mens rea, actus reus plus mens rea makes a crime, or I mean act coupled with guilty mind only can lead to a crime. There are certain exception, of course, for mens rea, where mens rea is not needed. For example, now the sedition is no more a crime under BNS, but yeah, sedition is one ground where mens rea is not needed. Similarly, kidnapping is there, abduction is there, waging war against your country, or you can say treason is there, counterfeiting coins are there. So these are the five cases where men's, even if you don't have a guilty mind, but if you have done an act, you can be held liable. These are the exception to the general rule which says act coupled with guilty mind. So these basic concepts we shall be knowing, we shall be aware of. Similarly, if I take into consideration some contemporary legal development, let's say if there is a question, because personality right has been very much in news. So if there is a question on personality right, and where the court had discussed this aspect, court also stated that personality rights does fall within the definition of trademark also. So don't you think we need to know what is trademark? Don't you think we need to understand what is goodwill? Don't you think what we need to understand what is passing off, the very basic concepts? Similarly, if I talk about copyright में AI, we are in the world or era of AI, artificial intelligence. Whatever you want AI to generate, AI is generating. Everywhere you see AI generated video, you are saying AI generated content, you are saying. So when the question, in fact various series also, TV series has also focused on AI. There was a series last year, an Indian series which was focusing on legal aspect and legal issues pertaining in society. So there was a one story in that particular legal thing which reflected that, suppose there's this person, what he did, he took, let's say, music of 10-15 composers, and वो 10-15 म्यूजिक को उसने एआई को बोला कि इसको यूज करके जनरेट अ न्यू म्यूजिक. So AI generated a new music. Now the question was, who will have the ownership or who will have the right over that particular music? So what do you think, who shall be given the ownership or authorship over that particular music which AI had composed? किसके पास राइट्स होंगे? So that is a very important questions. And here, the in that particular series, it was said that they won't have the ownership right because it is something where algorithm has been used to create a new music. But आप रेफर तो दूसरों के म्यूजिक का ही कर रहे हो ना, यू आर वायलेटिंग द कॉपीराइट ऑफ अदर पर्सन. So what is copyright? So that is something which again comes into picture. Similarly, abhi Tirupati laddu wala row, everybody have heard about. Tirupati laddu is having a GI. So can you expect a question on GI? So हमें ना समझना चाहिए कि what all are in news, what type of questions can be framed. And CLAT has a very simple funda. Funda is they'll be asking questions from three format. Three format is, or the syllabus says, first says, what is syllabus of CLAT? ये मेरा favorite question है. The three areas from which they ask questions. Today, in fact, I wanted to have this general discussions only कि कहाँ से I can make you guys understand कि next 1.5 months में करना क्या है three area CLAT syllabus का. ये तो चलेगा नहीं, मुझे तो आंसर चाहिए. Art, current affairs, history with pertaining affects. Udit, this is the what you are saying from GK perspective. From legal studies, Safi is saying legal studies. नहीं. Legal के syllabus में they have clearly stated that we'll be asking questions from three areas. First is legal matter. Legal matter, when we say anything in which there is law, will fall within the definition of legal matter. So whether it is contract, whether it's torts, whether it's criminal law, constitution, government making any law, Supreme Court coming up with certain judgment, everything will fall within the definition of legal matter. The second one says that public policy passages. Public policy passages, last year they asked question from data protection. पूछा था उन्होंने. प्रेस के राइट्स, फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पीच पे पूछा था. So anything public policy we have to understand in a layman terminology. We can say whatever government is doing for the welfare of public is will fall within the definition of public policy. So if there's a data privacy law, if there is a law with respect to, you can say, freedom of speech and expression, I'm just saying normal thing. If there is a law with respect to certain, let's say BNS has added certain new crime, so all these are for the welfare. Or if government is making law for the women, like reservation of seats for women in parliament, so all these are from the perspective of public policy. And the third aspect which says that we'll be asking question from is moral philosophical inquiries. We always get to this discussion, what is morality, what is ethical values, how morality and laws are related. So for example, in CLAT 2020 paper they asked question on obscenity. What is obscenity? हिकलिन टेस्ट पूछ लिया था उन्होंने, कम्युनिटी स्टैंडर्ड टेस्ट पूछ लिया था. We see lots of debate with respect to moral philosophical aspect. For example, whatever is being shown on OTT platform, so one section says that we are paying for OTT, so we shall have freedom to watch whatever we want to watch on Netflix or Prime or like whichever page is there. Then one section in Indian society says nahi, ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए. We cannot be allowed to watch. I mean, there should be some regulations on OTT platform because the content which is being shown on OTT platform is not suitable as per Indian standard. So यहाँ पे moral philosophical aspect आ रहा है क्या? And if we define morality, don't you think morality is a very subjective term? What can be moral for one person cannot be moral for other person. Similarly, recently Supreme Court had discussed about POXO Act, where a person had downloaded child porn videos, and there he took the plea that he was not knowing the law. So here the court stated that ignorance of law is not an excuse, and whatever is your intention, whether you downloaded it, whether you watched it, जो भी है, it is there in your phone, you are liable for this. So child pornography again is talking about the moral philosophical aspect. Similarly, there are certain religious issues also. Religious issue, when I am talking about, I am referring to the matter which is pending before the court, where the discussion is with respect to relationship between article 14 of the constitution, article 25 of the constitution, which one will prevail over what if there is a issue with respect to 25 and 14, whether 14 shall prevail or 25 shall prevail. For example, we have Sabrimala issues, where the question is, it is a review petition which is pending before a 9 judge bench. The question is whether women of menstruating age shall be allowed to enter into temple or not. Then their court is going to discuss certain questions in this particular case. One such question is, what is essential religious practice? The second such question is, what is constitutional morality, because the term morality is nowhere defined in constitution. So this is something which is covering the aspect of moral philosophical inquiries. Also, let's say I'll again go back to the AI wala thing. On Instagram I have seen many pages where the pages shows, if you look at the page, you'll feel like that this particular page or this particular person is looking like a twins of a particular actor or actresses. But when you go and read the bio of those profile, it says the face has been generated by AI. So don't you think this is also covering the moral philosophical aspect? और फॉर दैट मैटर डीप फेक वीडियोस बहुत न्यूज में आपने सुना होगा. Deepfake videos is also highlighting the moral philosophical questions. So these are the three areas which on which CLAT is focusing in legal section. And again, when you categorize these three areas, they have asked, I mean, three type of question. One is pure static, like common intention, similar intention. What is communication to contract? The second one is current affairs in the form of static, like Vizag gas leak, current affair issues tha, but they asked in a static format as to what is absolute liability, what is strict liability, what is polluter pays principle. Similarly, they ask questions on act of God. Similarly, they ask questions on compassionate appointment and everything. But so this is the second type of question which they're asking, current affairs in the form of static. The third one is pure current affairs, pure legal judgments, pure legal actions taken by the government. For example, family laws related issues. Like last year, there was a question on illegitimate child's having right over the property. So this was pure Supreme Court judgment. This is also covering the moral wala thing. Illegitimate child whether does have a right to property or not. There was a judgment, so this was purely asked in the paper. So this three perspectives say we are supposed to prepare, and when we are preparing from these three perspectives, our basics shall be clear. Why basic is not with respect क्योंकि हमें law आना चाहिए. Basic is with respect that if we get a question in the paper, we shall be in a position to understand what the passage is saying. It's not important that we shall know each and every word of the passage, but if we are able to understand the crux of the passage, we are good to go. So keep these things in mind. Okay, Udit is saying people are also creating memes which include morphed videos of famous personalities speaking questionable things. Yes. So this is another question. And this meme is being used or created through the help of AI also. If not AI, then there are other pages also through which they do so. So considering that, can there be a regulation with respect to this? Also, there are other issues also which is related to the same. For example, the liability of actor and actresses promoting something. If you just look from your surrounding perspective, पहले आप देखते होगे Instagram पे या किसी भी पेज पे, when they used to promote things, they never used to write that this is an ad. But now you must have noticed that they do say that it is an ad or it is a collaboration with respect to particular product. Because earlier people used to believe this, that somebody is selling this product, that means this person is using, and since this person is using, then this product should be a good one, and people used to purchase. But then after that, many issues popped up, and it was also on question with respect to the rights or also with respect to the obligations of the person promoting it. So now if you see an advertisement where they are promoting certain brands, certain products, they do write with the hashtag ad, or they do tag that particular brand page. So all these are also highlighting such issues, so you have to read from such perspective. Also, somebody was saying current affairs, GK, legal reasoning, critical reasoning. So legal knowledge, CLAT says legal knowledge is not needed, but the very next line CLAT says कि अगर आपको law पता है, then this will help you in answering. So considering that, it is important. Then in GK section, they says that legal questions from legal can be asked in knowledge format. So for example, certain laws, for example, certain judgment, which is a landmark judgment. So they may ask questions from with respect to that particular judgment. Then how many judges were heading this bench, or maybe who was heading the bench or leading the judgment, or whether it was a constitutional bench, in what ratio they gave the judgment. So from that perspective also you need to remember from GK section. And then GK also, CLAT has clearly made a distinction that these are the questions or areas on which we will be focusing on. For example, the first one says contemporary events of significance from India and world. That means whatever is happening at present, contemporary development from Indian perspective, from world's perspective, they may ask questions. Especially if you look at or analyze last 5 years ka paper, they have asked questions if there are two countries who are in war with each other. So contemporary development from Indian and world's perspective, this is one thing. Then the second one they say is that art and culture. If we are celebrating something, some important days, some important events, then that can also form part of your paper. For example, 75 years of Supreme Court. So I'm saying from legal perspective, but similarly there can be something where we are celebrating 100 years or something, 150 years or something, or for that matter, UNESCO has designated certain sites or a certain art form has been recognized. So that is another topic from GK perspective. Then international affairs. Again, when we say international affairs, not only focusing from what's perspective, but also from India's perspective. India is having certain tie-up with certain countries with respect to military, with respect to economic, whatever is the tie-up which is there. India having tie-up with America, India having tie-up with Russia, India having tie-up with Japan. I'm just giving a random example, but I'm saying international affairs include these things also. Something happening from space perspective, from international one. Sunita Williams still is stuck in space. So all these things can be part of your paper. Then in historical event of continuing significance. For example, last year they asked questions with respect to जालियांवाला बाग massacre. Although it wasn't in news, उसके पहले last year आया था war memorial, जालियांवाला बाग memorial and all. So they asked questions. Similarly, they asked questions on Ambedkar views on constitution. So considering that, at least we shall be in a position right now कि हमें syllabus बहुत अच्छे से पता है, and हमें जब syllabus पता है उसी basis पे we are doing the revision, then only you will be able to score good marks in GK also, in legal section also. And other thing with respect to legal section is time management. Now you guys are very much comfortable with legal, have already, you all may have solved or must have solved some 30 to 40 mocks in legal section, and then all these mocks may have covered all the important current affairs static aspect. So just the time where you go back and revise these mocks, especially not I'm asking you to attempt the entire 2 hours ka paper. Let's say my legal is weak, or for that matter I want to revise legal, so I'll just give 30 minutes every day to legal section of each and every mock. हर दिन मैं एक 32 question का set solve करूंगी. That means from now onwards till the CLAT, I have enough days to solve enough of the mocks or to revise the mocks. And this way, you will be in a position to score anywhere around 28 to 30 in legal section. So keep these small things in mind. That will help you a lot. Okay, can you please give a brief on how to prepare legal GK and facts for SLAT, since they ask knowledge based sometimes in a SLAT strategy in general? So knowledge based में पहला तो हमें past year or you can say landmark judgment पता होना चाहिए from legal perspective. Second, as you are reading, Mishka, as you have already stated that I am reading from Hindu. So in Hindu, or for that matter, there are other pages also which gives daily update of Supreme Court. So last abhi to we are in the month of October. So last 9 months may whatever Supreme Court has given the judgments, whichever has formed the landmark judgment, we need to prepare from that perspective. Okay, should we know the amendments in the constitution with regard to current affairs? If that amendment is very important amendment, is it has brought some changes, then considering that we shall. But this year there is no such great amendment in constitution which we need to remember. But yes, the representation of women in parliament is something which is an important one. 33% seats reserved this year. It wasn't used. It will be used from next general election. So considering that, it is relevant. GI tag falls under the this as yeah, GI tag falls under the category of current affairs only. I just gave an example because Tirupati wala issue बहुत ज़्यादा news में था, and then Supreme Court also intervened. Supreme Court also said that being a political leader, अगर आपके पास surety नहीं है, how can you give such information or how can you speak? So considering that, it is relevant. So today only I just wanted to have a general discussions with you guys, and I liked it that you guys were participating and coming up and commenting in the chat box also. So today I'll not take a long time of yours. I think general perspective I have given. Enough time है अभी भी. अगर अभी भी start नहीं किया है, अभी भी struggle कर रहे हो, keep this syllabus in mind and accordingly plan your strategy and give your best for next 1.5 months. You will be able to ace and you will be able to get into the top NLUs. And in next class, today I was supposed to cover certain topics, like these topics were there, but I'll take this topic in next class for sure. So you can come prepared from this topic also, like right to disconnect, right to dissent हमें पता है, right to speech पता है, right to disconnect पता है या नहीं है. We'll be doing this. God को politics से दूर रखो. You asking me, Safi? No, they have GI tag. Trademark is generally with respect to certain products and all. अच्छा, मुझे नहीं बोल रहे थे, थैंक गॉड। आई वाज लाइक व्हाट आई सेड, मैंने ऐसा कोई स्टेटमेंट भी नहीं दिया, मैं तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट की बात कर रही थी। Ayushi is saying will surely go to NLSIU. So that's really great things. 1.5 month, give your best, land in NLS Bangalore, guys. ओके, अच्छा, ऐसा सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला था, यस, दैट तिरुपति वाला थिंग में सुप्रीम कोर्ट सेड द सेम. सो दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच वी नीड टू कीप एन आई ऑन. एंड 1425 always in news, so considering that, and we'll be taking up like I'm planning कि next few days में whenever I'm taking the session, we'll do a revision of whatever is in news since last 9 months. सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या किया है, एवरीथिंग. नो, आई डिडंट पैनिक. आई वाज लाइक, मैंने सर स्टेटमेंट नहीं दिया है, सो इट शुड नॉट कम फ्रॉम यू गाइस. Okay, and when I am speaking in on public forum, I need to be very much particular of what I am saying, so considering that. So okay, so up for upcoming classes, we'll be revising of last 9 months, whatever has been in news. Also, I'll be taking up some important topics from IPC and BNS perspective, which I'm expecting. And also there are certain things like, for example, 20 clause 1, since BNS is there, it is in force from July, and IPC is before July. So Article 20 clause 1 says retrospective application of criminal law. 20 has been focus of CLAT. They have been asking questions from Article 20 perspective. So वैसे ही will filter out कि क्या क्या हम expect कर सकते हैं, and बस will do revision in upcoming session. So this was all for today's, guys. If you have liked it, then do like and subscribe the video. See you guys in the next class. Thank you.